press record. Okay. So let me just get myself situated. All right, so, this is our board. You just met us all. So for August, we broke down what we accomplished in our 3 different segments. So the first one is community engagement, and we reached 694 member owners just the other day, I believe. We're really excited about that. We're only 6 away from having 700, so we're doing a push right now to really get to the 700 by the end of the month. So tell all your friends. We welcomed in our new intern, Nicole, who is starting this week and will help us really with smaller tasks so that we can focus on pushing the bigger tasks forward and really getting organized. We organized signups for the Me and White Supremacy discussion group that's starting tomorrow. One of our new member owners, Lydia, put that together for us and volunteered to put together 2 reading groups, and we'll continue to do that for anybody who's interested, and is really helping us work towards building the anti-racist culture that is in our mission. We tabled at Next Barn Over and the Amherst Mobile Markets Celebration of Health event, and we'll be doing some more CSA tabling and such soon as well. And we also had our last check-in last month, and we updated our messaging so that it's more welcoming. We finalized in our governance section, we finalized our board expectations document, which we talked about last time, and we set as a goal to finish that, and we did. We sent it out for feedback to past board members and co-op developer advisors so that we can get feedback from them as well to really strengthen that. We established new systems for creating proposals to help with our decision making, which actually has been propelling our decision making really well and putting it on a timeline. We have brainstormed what accountability looks like with our new established expectations, because now that we've done our expectations document, the question is, what does the accountability look like for that? So that is something that we started to look at last month while we were finishing the expectations doc. We updated our timeline in ClickUp for the next year to reflect our goals and steps for meeting them. And ClickUp is an online project management system that we use. It's a platform that allows us to assign due dates and timelines and assignment. Each person can get assigned to the project. It allows us to have different steps to each task and really go in depth with what it is that's getting done and what needs to be marked complete in order for us to see that that task has been done so we can move on to the next one, and which tasks are dependent on other tasks. And that's something that I started to implement late last year, probably in November, we started to move over to ClickUp, and it's been some time for us to really figure out how to get all of our tasks organized on there, because before they were not organized anywhere. And this has really given us a great way to make effective goals and timelines. And so it's been a project right now to really update that timeline and clean it up, and something we'll be working on for the next couple of months. And there are a lot of other items here too. I'm not going to go through every single one, and we'll give you these slides for yourself to look over, but I want to get to the really important ones. In business, we brought in a volunteer to help us automate member owner payment plan tracking. And this is really important because our treasurer, Sue, has been spending lots of hours maintaining our payment plan system, and it hasn't been efficient. It was beautifully organized by the folks who put it together before, but it really doesn't make for efficiency because it's manual entry. So we're working on automating that system and many other like that. That's going to save Sue hours and open up her to be available for other things in our finances and our board in general. And this, like I said, this piece is attached to a lot of other pieces that are being automated right now. We proposed changes to our member owner payment plan overall to be more financially accessible and to include our no cost option for BIPOC households. And this is something we'll be bringing up again to you all tonight and forward, of really talking about how we can make our payment plan a way that is just more accessible and more welcoming, because right now we're really having trouble reaching different classes in our community. We also connected with other community leaders for future project collaborations and co-op case building, because we're really focusing on how the food apartheid here in Amherst is a public health crisis and is attached to a lot of other issues. And so that's really building a case. So we've seen other co-ops do this in a really powerful way that actually brings on a lot of support within the community and outside of the community. Funding and capacity all come with that. So that's one of our big focuses right now, and partnering with other community leaders that are already working on that and we can collaborate with. In September, for the community engagement piece, we plan to table at the Amherst area CSA pickups in Brookfield, Minihans, and Simple Gifts. We start planning for the 31 and 31 campaign in October, which Emily did last year and was extremely successful. I believe we brought in 36 member owners instead of 31. So yeah, that was hugely successful, and we're planning that again, which we have been increasing member ownership coming in the last couple of months. So though things slowed down at first with COVID, they're starting to come back a little bit more stronger now. And so that's our goal for October. We're going to start planning the member owner calling campaign, which we mentioned in our last month's meeting or check-in, which will be a phone tree of sorts from member owners, fellow member owners from like us on the board and others in the community, calling each other to check in on each other and really build strength in our community and to figure out exactly what it is that brings us all together and is needed in our community right now. And creating a new community engagement goals and timelines from the community assessment, which again, we mentioned last month that we were finishing up the community assessment, which we did. And now we are working on making some really concrete goals and timelines that have specific tasks that will get completed so that we can improve the areas of our community engagement that were really lacking with the assessment that we were able to complete. In the governments in September, we're going to finalize our systems of accountability for board members. So I mentioned that earlier, that we started to look at the systems of accountability that tie back to our board expectations. As a reminder, the board expectations document includes what is it that the board is expected to do as a whole, what are each board member expected to do, what are the role expectations of each member officer, what are the role expectations of committee members and volunteers, all of that. So we're building systems of accountability that hold those up so that when those expectations are not being met, we have some type of a community agreement about what that means and how do we address that. So that we can improve and make sure that we're giving the co-op the best work that we can be. And so finalizing the expectations document here is referring to receiving all that feedback from our advisors and our previous board members and any member owners who want to give feedback, and applying all of that and actually finalizing it into a document that is no longer being edited and is being used as a tool. Gather all the board handbook resources to update our internal board website, which is being done by our secretary, Jupong, and we are gathering all of the different items that new board members would need to have in order to know what are the systems and expectations of the board, what are the resources and information that they can use to learn more about being on the board and co-ops, and also any important documents that we have as a board, and more. We're still developing what that board handbook looks like, and we're also reaching out to other boards to see examples of other board handbooks. And developing the criteria for new board members and outline the onboarding system, the onboarding process. And again, we mentioned last month that we will soon be looking to onboard new board members. And what we're doing is building a really strong nominee qualities criteria assessment of what is it that we really need in a board member, and how do we look for that, and what kind of process do we use to onboard to onboard board members and find the right board members, the ones that will really bring the qualities that we need, and including committee members, because we really want to make sure that everybody in the community is in a role that really suits them and the co-op. And so one of the philosophies we've really been talking about is, what is each person's superpower? And let's not try to do things that are not the exact thing that will suit us, that will like serve us and serve the co-op. So that's all in tied up into that. And in business, we are going to decide on the payment plan system and update the website to reflect it. So I mentioned that earlier too, that we were reviewing the payment plan system. We're going to finalize our proposal and start to bring that out to you all in our member owners to get feedback from you all about what your thoughts are on that. And the goal is to decide on what that system will look like and start to update the website to reflect that. And yeah. And then we'll be sending Sue to the Business Planning Committee, to the Financing Food and Farms info session through through Franklin CDC to get more information and an advisement on our financing, especially when it comes to Business Planning Committee. We're inviting, oh boy, sorry y'all. We're inviting Amaha Selassie from Gem City Market to speak with us and our community leaders about how to effectively collaborate to make change in Amherst. And by community leaders, I'm also referring back to the folks I was talking about earlier that we've been building with and making connections with to see how we can build this public health case as a collective. We're going to reach out to those folks, have them come in or invite them to come in on this talk with Amaha. And he's going to tell us about how he was able to do that in his own area and with his own co-op. And they've been wildly successful. And and not only that, but they have also been a huge help to us in a lot of the things that they've been implementing. We've started to implement as well and have seen really great progress. And so we're really, really looking forward to this, continuing to build this relationship with this co-op in Dayton, Ohio, and get some thoughts from Amaha, who is their board president and who I've been working closely with as well. So at this point, I'm gonna take a moment and pause. Is there anybody who would like to break out into another room and speak to Emily more in detail about what we have going on, what it is that we've been working on? Now would be the time to raise your hand or let us know. And otherwise, I'll go into what are some roadblocks that we've been experiencing and what we need as a board.
Yeah, so if any of you recently joined member owners, if you have any other questions lingering about how exactly does a cooperative work, or what is our general timeline, why is it that we need 1,000 member owners, those kind of more general questions, I'm happy to answer them in a separate room. Otherwise, I can also answer them another time or over email.
Emily, I think I'd like to hear answers to some of those things if anybody else does as well, or we can just set up separate, whatever's best.
We can create a little breakout room and go until, let's see, should we say until 8:10, 8:12?
Yeah, let's say 8:10. Yeah, 8:10, 8:12. Yeah, sure, that works.
What happens to the rest of us who don't go into the break?
The rest of us will stay here, and I will continue with what are the roadblocks and the needs that we've identified for this month. Thank you all for your patience. And those of you who have been here for the last couple check-ins, you know this is a new thing that we're trying to really, because these check-ins are available to anybody. They don't have to be a member owner. So okay, it looks like Emily's gone, so I'm going to go ahead and move on with the next portion. So our roadblocks that we've been experiencing is mostly investing time and energy into strengthening our foundation, meaning emphasis on the time and energy. We're really making an investment, and we know that this will be a return on our investment once we have these foundations and we're strengthening that we'll have that time and energy coming back towards us. But this is a piece that has been really, I think, challenging for all of us on the board, because we're anxious to move forward with some projects that we were talking about before, but it's been clear that we really need to step back. We've been updating and strengthening some really vital details as we continue to grow, because there's a lot of ways that we've been functioning before that are not, they're not set up in a way that will support us and serve us as we grow larger. And that's where we're headed right now. We're preparing to really jump into the thick of building this co-op, and we need to have a strong foundation. That includes building up what are the even expectations of being on the board? What does that look like? What is our actual timeline, not just with big goals, but how are we actually getting to those big goals? Because we've had a timeline for a while, but we haven't had the broken down smaller goals that build up to that. We've been working on that for the past few months. We've been really working on our meeting structure, which has improved drastically over the past few months. They've become very efficient and given now a space for everybody to have their own independent work outside of the meeting. So that's been something that we've been working on and continuing to working on. And the project management, like I mentioned in ClickUp, has been a big project and is also cleaning up that timeline. So that timeline is being helped by ClickUp, and also ClickUp has been a huge investment of getting onto that and everyone feeling comfortable. Even the documentation and organization of files and important information is something that we really have been cleaning up and is a humongous project. So it's a bit overwhelming and still needs to be cleaned up before we grow any bigger. So that's one thing that we're also working on, and including accounts and passwords. So these are just a couple of things that you can tell are like little details, but make up a lot of dysfunction and difficulty in moving forward when they're not being addressed. And so that's where a lot of our attention has been, rather than big movements of going towards the store, so we can be prepared for that. We've also had to update and organize a lot of the technology and automation. We're all learning together, and it's a learning curve for everybody, but we did not have those things set up before because the technology was just not being of focus. We were focusing on building up what it was that we actually were working towards, and now we're realizing we need the technology and automations to back us up, so we're not doing minuscule projects and tasks that are taking away from the really important pieces, especially when right now we're just the board. And
could I just add a little asterisk? I just wanted to say that Kinga, you have been really, you've been a really important voice in helping us understand that this work of, you know, cleaning up our the ways that we communicate, cleaning up our expectations of each other and accountability, that this is the work. It's really connected with anti-white supremacy, and you know, this work is about respecting each other, and that is that's something that you know, you mentioned the patterns of dysfunction. They were patterns of dysfunction that are the kinds of dysfunction that allow us to, you know, keep functioning in organizations in a way that's kind of not explicitly white supremacist, but it's part of this culture of whiteness. You know, the nonprofits do this. They don't respect people's time. They don't back the leadership of BIPOC. So I just wanted to add that note and an appreciation for your leadership.
I hear that. Thank you. And yeah, that ties right into establishing a system of accountability so we can evaluate whether or not we're being successful, and really meaning like in our individual work flows. So what do we each need to be bringing to the table? How do we evaluate that with what we are bringing to the table? And how do we hold ourselves accountable and each other accountable in a way that still creates the culture that we need to have in the co-op? And that has been a challenging subject to look at. So that's another roadblock we're experiencing. And finally, what we need is your patience, empathy, and support from everyone. That's number one. And we really wanted to share that because, as you can see, we are working with a lot of roadblocks, and there's kind of big boulders in front of us right now. And as I shared with you, there's a lot of weight on all of us. We feel very, of course we feel responsible for the community, but we also feel responsible because we're so passionate and dedicated to this project. And so we know that from the outside, it's not, when you're not clear what it is that's happening on the inside. And on the inside, it's hard to say all the things and express all the things that are happening with also being efficient with our time. So we just need your patience and empathy. We're looking for volunteers for tabling at the CSA pickups, giving feedback for things like the board expectations document that I've been mentioning and other governance documents that are coming soon, and also the proposed changes to the payment plan options that I mentioned before as well. We also will need help with the Amherst Mobile Market. They're looking to extend their season and asked if anybody could help with transporting food from farms, operating markets, and/or raising funds. And also for joining the meeting with Amaha Selassie that I mentioned, and to help us continue to build our public health case for fundraising by supporting that conversation and being a part of that, which we'll send more information about soon. And of course, telling everyone about the co-op and encouraging them to join and get involved is always, always, always on the list. So if any of these things are things that you feel that you can support us with, you can go ahead and share that in the chat, or you can message me privately. You can message Emily privately. You can email Emily at community@commonsharefoodcoop.com. .coop. Soon we will be releasing a form for catching people's questions that are coming, regularly, that you might have after the meeting, or bigger questions, so that we can really address those throughout the month. But right now, what I want to do is offer just a few minutes. We don't have much time, and I want to hear more from you all. But I want to offer a few minutes to ask, is there anybody who has a question that's specifically about any of the things that we just shared in the check-in, the report? You have any questions for clarity?
I have a question.
Sure.
Well, that was a great list of volunteer opportunities. I can't remember them.
Yes.
So remind me again how I'm going to choose which one. You'll send a
Sure.
follow-up email.
We will. Okay. We'll send a follow-up email with all of the slides, so you'll have all of that information. And I can pop it up for one more moment for you to look at. I wanted to see all your faces. But I can absolutely pop it up for one more moment, but we will be sending this out in these slides for you all to have all of that information, because I know I also wasn't able to go over every single item on each list either. So
thank you. One quick bit of feedback. I don't know if it's just me, but it would be helpful in the email text to list, this is what we need, instead of considering going through all the slides and finding those volunteer opportunities. So
absolutely.
That would be my suggestion, is to make those really at the top.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Love that. Thank you. Okay. I don't hear anybody else looking to share any questions or have any clarifying. So what I'd like to do next, what we have planned next, welcome back, Steve and Emily. Let's see. So still figuring out technology, y'all. Like I said, we're all learning together, right? Isn't that what I said? So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go out into breakout rooms for just a few minutes. We're going to put just a few people in each room so you all have a chance to talk. And we really want to just spark a conversation about, as we enter in the pandemic, as we enter fall in our pandemic, how do we build community while also increasing our capacity within the co-op? And this is something that we are looking at right now in terms of going into the fall season. Like I said, also in the pandemic. And we are right now entering a part of our goals and timelines of building the community strength and increasing our capacity on the board, the committees, the volunteers. And we want to know, how can we do that simultaneously? And do you have any specific ideas? Do you have any suggestions for us? Do you have any thoughts on what you would need going into fall with the pandemic? We know winter is following, and how do we build community like that? So we just want to spark up a conversation, and the board members will also, and Emily, can you set up breakout rooms for us? Thank you. So board members will be in some of the rooms with you, and we're just here to listen because I just spoke all of our thoughts that we put together. So we want to hear from you all now.